So earlier we seen single dimensional. So now we are going to see that single line. So single line, how it looks like. So let me take the example for that. Array, it's a single line example. Public static void main. So single line, how it looks like be first declaration we as usual into a of. So earlier we used new int of 10. So this is the single dimensional we used. But single line, how it will be int a of, you can specify the values. Okay. So this is the single dimensional. Here you are going to be use single line like this. I'm just removing this one. It's not required anymore to us as per our example. In this single line, you should open and close the braces, curly braces. Inside, you have to place the values like 1, 5, 6. I'm just putting randomly. So when you are going to write these kind of things, just call it as a single line array. So what is my array size? So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my array size is 8. So this scenario is mainly for if you know that values. So then you can go ahead with this single line approach. The another one is whatever we used earlier, that is single dimensional array. So in that one, when you're going to use it, a dynamical values within the range in the sense you declare it as array is size is 10. So within the array size, if you want to change the dynamically values, these all are the static values because once you place the value, it will not be change. That means it's constant. But when you use that single dimensional, when you assign the value, that means a of 5, that fifth location you put it 40. Similarly, a of 9, you put it as 100. So those values if keep on changing, then you can go ahead with the dimensional approach. So when you use this approach, this is constant. Okay. How you can retrieve these values? So to retrieve the values, the approach is same. For starts from integer because we required iteration. So when it is going to be iterate, each of the iteration, it will pick that associated value from the array. Int I is equal to 0, I lesser than, we counted earlier is 8. Okay, increment is I plus plus, then system.out.println, whatever this name it has, you need to be put it as a. If you display this a, you can see that value as a object notation value. Okay, so to avoid that one, you have to be put it square braces, then this I, you need to be declared here. So then it will start iterating a of 0, whatever the value it is there, that will be printing. A of 2, when it is coming, this value will come. A of 5, if it is coming, it will be coming it as this value. Okay, so finally you can display the overall set of values. See here, everything is get displayed. But one challenge it here you are putting the value. Let's take if I put it 100, what will happen? See this? It has error. So we call it as a exception. What is it is saying? Array index out of bound exception. Because your array size is 8, but you are saying to the loop repeat it for 100 times. So when it is coming 9 and 10 subsequently till 100, so then it is giving array index out of bound exception. So this is one kind of exception you can frequently see when you're dealing with the array. So that means you declare it for 8, but you are asking for 100. That is one of the challenge it is there in array. So to avoid that, we have another concept, that is size. How you can know this array size? To know the array size here, you can put it as a dot length. So automatically Java will be counting whatever the array you have declared here with the values. It will take the size, then replace it here. At backend, it will be replacing with 8. So developer is not going to be give it equal whatever the value it is. If you use this way, internally program will calculate whatever the size you have defined, that size will be replaced here. So there is no chance of getting array index out of bound exception if you use this way. So keep in mind that length, there is one more will come in future, that is length of. It will come like this, length of. So this is the way it will come in future, not related to array. When you are going to use of, so this is the one when you are going to use with length, that is not related to array. So array is going to deal with only length. So length in the sense, what is the size of your array? So that size value will be replacing wherever you required. So this is the way of dealing single line array. Okay, the final result is like this. Whatever the array values it is there, that everything is displaying it here. So what you guys can do, that you can try it with different conditional loops. Instead of for, you can use while, do while to retrieve it. So then you will get hands on. Okay, so this is for single line dimensional array. So the next thing is multi-dimensional array. How you can do that? Let me write one example. So before that, multi-dimensional, how it looks. Just a minute. Let me take the board. So if I declare int ar like this, new int of 2 2. So in this case, what will be happen? I have two dimensional array with the size 2. So backend, how it will be storing? It will be storing like this. This is 0th index. Second. So this is 0. And the next thing is will be pointing like this at backend. Okay. So this is the next index is 1. So this is the way of two-dimensional array. So the first is 2, that means 2 blocks. Then second, each block will be 2. So overall, when you're dealing with two-dimensional, it looks like this. If you are using three-dimensional, let's take the three-dimensional one more. If you use here, adding it as, let me add it here. So int a of new int. So again, I'm just putting one dimensional only. That means size. It's a three dimensional. My array size is 1 1. Okay. So that case, how it looks. So like this it will be. This is pointing to here. This is pointing to here. This will be 0, 1, and 2. If I change this one to two dimensional, okay, so again this picture will be different. So if it is the two dimensional array, let's take it is, yeah, this is two dimensional array. If it is three dimensional with the value is different, int a 1 2 3, int a of 2. So I'm showing it as memory how it's going to be allocated. Okay, so if it is like this, the memory allocation will be 2, and again it's a 2 blocks, and again 2 blocks. So it is 2. Just give a minute. So then this is pointing to here, this is pointing to here. So this is the way three dimensional with the size 2. Okay, so like this the memory will be alerting. Let's take if I want to display the value, put the value at this point. If I put the value at here, so what is the exact index for this one? So as I said earlier, this is 0th index, this is 1, this is 2. Okay, so that means 0 1 2. If I want to put the value, again the index is here 0, this is 1. So this is 0th dimension, 1 dimension, and 2 dimension. Here the index is 0, and here also index is 0 1. Again this index is 0, this is 1. So if I want to place the value at here, so my notation will be like this: a of 0, the next thing is 0, and 1 is equal to 10. If I write like this, that means when I assign the 10 value in this location, you have to write it this way. So if you write this one, that means at memory it will alert this particular location. Similarly, if you are want to place this value at here, then 0 1 1, a of 0 1 1, then the value will be placing this location. If you want to place this location 0 1 1, okay, not the 0, sorry, 1 1 1. If you put it a of 1 1 1 and value, your value will be placing this location. So this is the multi-dimensional approach, this is two-dimensional approach, this is single dimensional approach. Okay, I hope you clear on this one. So this example here, you are putting as a 1. Okay, sorry, if you are not, I'm not sure whether you are following or not. Okay, so don't be confused. This diagram is representing how the data will be storing into the memory, how it will be retrieving. Okay, so when it is storing, so this is the way of approach it will be stored. So the dimensional here, it will be how many boxes you can see that square boxes. One, two, three. That means it is three dimensional. Okay. Here it is two dimensional. Here also it is three dimensional, but the size is one. But here it is two. Size is two. This is two. That's what it coming as two boxes. Okay. This is the way it will be storing at a backend. So let's write it multi-dimensional example array multi example. Public static void main. First you have to be declare int a is equal to new int of, just giving it as a 2. So now if I want to set the value a of 0 0 is 10, then a of 6, sorry it don't have the 6 size, it's 2 only, right? It will be 1, then 1 equal to 20. I just give it 0 0 location 10, 1 1 location is 20. Okay, so to get this value, how you need to be, first you have to write one loop for int I equal to 0, I lesser than a dot length and I plus plus. So then I can get that the first one. But how about this one also? You need to use one more loop inside for int j 0 j lesser than a dot length j plus plus. Now you used two dimensional. If you are using three dimensional, one more loop will come. Okay, like this one more will come. So to display this value, you have to be system.out.println a of I then j. Like this you have to write. So that means you need to retrieve the first I index, then j. You can display the value now. If I run it, I can get the value 10 and 20. See this one? So backend will be, just remember the diagram, whatever I was drawn backend. So internally, the value will be storing like this. The final output is 10, 0, 0, 20. Okay. So this is the value is going to be display for multi-dimensional. The next thing is anonymous array. Okay. So anonymous array means here you are declaring with and whatever the objects get created, it's assigning for a. Okay, and type is integer type. So sometimes you don't need to be declare it, simply you can use it with the values. So that kind of array is call it as a anonymous array. Anonymous means it don't have any reference to call that particular array. So such kind of array is called it as a anonymous array. Okay, so let's see that one example for anonymous array. Array, let me check it. anonymous array. Okay, so anonymous example, public static void main. So here we are going to be display the anonymous array. System.out.println. So I'm going to be some with that new int of 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. So when you are dealing with this kind of things, it is called as a anonymous arrays. Okay, so it don't have any reference, you are directly dealing with that. Okay, these kind of things will be called as a anonymous. You can take this value and start displaying. What I'm going to do now, I'm introducing one more method, public void retrieve value, then int a. So here I will be just getting that all the values, int I equal to 0, I lesser than a dot length I plus plus. So then system dot out dot println of I. So when you are going to dealing this kind of thing, this the first one is object notation. I haven't used this one. This method is not used. So let's call it here. For time being, let's put it static, but still it has the value difference. Okay, so I don't want to be display right here. Already I have for loop in this way. If you run it, output get generated. But one thing here, I haven't declared this one. Okay, so if you wanted to be write it in the normal regular approach, how you can do int a of, then you are going to be assign these values. Like this, you are going to be add it in general. That means single line. But we see the difference between new int of and directly you are assigning the value set here. So this kind of behavior, if you see anywhere, that is anonymous array. There is no reference for that. See this particular one is having the reference 1 2 3 4 is referred by a, but here there is no reference for that. Directly you are passing integer type object with the values of 1 2 3 4. This kind of behavior we call it as a anonymous array. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, just I'm placing the anonymous array and then retrieving. So this retrieval process I wrote a separate method. I'm just passing the anonymous array here, then it's retrieving the values whatever it is there in this anonymous array. Okay, so that is the one for anonymous. Anonymous is nothing but don't have the reference to call. Dynamically you can create and pass those values to your program wherever it required. This kind of things is called it as a anonymous array. The next thing is assigned we seen, but when you are going to deal with the array, there is a set of rules. So you should follow that rules. Okay, then your program will be success. Let's see the set of rules. The first thing is, let me write it one more example. Array rules example. So when you are going to dealing with array, public static, let me write the same syntax. Int a of new, let's remove this gap. Okay. The first rule is, when you are going to deal with arrays, you have to give the size. Let's put it as 1 or 2 or 3, whatever it is. Based on your requirement, you can specify the size. If you don't know anything, okay, but you need to give certain amount. Here, what is the size of your array? If you're not aware of it, that is not acceptable in array. You need to put the at least a value in this, then your memory is going to be allotted that much. Sometimes if you give it like this, 0, 0 also valid, but you cannot insert any of the value, you cannot assign any of the value to this a. Okay, the first rule is, value is mandatory. That accepted value 0 or anything other than few things like negative value you should not give. If you give it like this is not the exact one because it's backward direction. Okay, so this negative scenarios, it will not be acceptable. Okay, and sometimes if you give it the string like hello, this is not the acceptable. Okay, and sometimes if you give it as true or false, this is also not the valid. Okay, so likewise it has a set of negative value should not give it during the declaration time, boolean value should not give, and the next thing is floating values. Let's take the float value 10.5. If you give it f, is the float value, you should not pass. If you give it like this, it's a double. Double also is not the acceptable one. Long. Okay, long means it's, you can give it a bigger one, but long, the precision, if you see, if you go back to that long, see here, the long is having this much related, and it's not saying, it's saying that it's not the acceptable for long. Okay, that is also, we should not be apply for that. The next thing is empty. Just now we seen that empty, if you give it like this is also not acceptable. Okay, so these are the rules you should follow when you are going to deal with the array. Okay, so that's it for this entire array, how you can use it. Okay, so what are the rules it has, how you can find the size of the array at back end when you declare the array, how the memory is going to be allot. Okay, those all those things